Turns out the rumors were true. OnePlus has finally entered the foldable game. The long-rumored OnePlus Open is OnePlus's first attempt at a foldable phone, boasting a sleek and stylish design and a look at what OnePlus thinks foldable software should be. Setting aside the fact that the OnePlus Open is really just a rebranded Oppo foldable, the OnePlus Open looks to make a compelling case for itself in a world still largely dominated by Samsung, at least in the US. Curious about the OnePlus Open and how it compares with the competition? I've been able to test the phone for a few weeks now. Here are my thoughts. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps support my work and I'd appreciate that support. One of the most interesting things about foldable phones is that they can offer all kinds of different form factors. My favorite foldable form factor is a fold style, not flip style, with an internal folding screen and a secondary external screen. That also happens to be one of the most popular styles of foldable devices, with the second being the flip style. And that's the style of the OnePlus Open. As far as foldables go, I really like the overall design of the OnePlus Open. It's thinner than the Galaxy Z Fold 5 when you disregard the camera bump on the back, though thicker when you include it, and you can see the difference by the angle at which the device sits on a table. In the hand, however, the device feels quite thin. It also feels quite premium, and I like the glossy metallic frame and flat edges. Other foldables, like the Galaxy Z Fold 5, of course, have this too, but I still like it. One thing that I do prefer about the OnePlus Open compared to the Galaxy Z Fold 5 is the fact that the Open has a wider build. This means that the front display feels a little more usable, while the interior display is bigger. The trade-off, of course, is that the device takes up more room inside the pocket, and it feels like it. But that's a trade-off I'm willing to make. Other aspects of the OnePlus Open are pretty nice too. I'm glad to see the ringer switch on the side of the phone, along with the power button / fingerprint sensor combo. I found the sensor to work relatively well, and quickly. On the bottom, there's a USB-C port. On the back of the phone is the mammoth camera module, which is big in every way. For now, know that the OnePlus Open's camera module is both thick and wide, and while I don't have strong opinions against the design of the Open's camera module, it does take a little getting used to. We'll get into camera quality a little later. The OnePlus Open is available in two colorways, Emerald Dusk and Voyager Black, which has a leather feeling back. I'm reviewing the Emerald Dusk model, and I quite like it. If you've never used a foldable phone before, you might assume that the experience of folding and unfolding them is the same across devices, but nothing could be further from the truth. The hinges play a huge role in this experience. The hinge on this device, which OnePlus calls the Flexion hinge, is quite nice. However, it doesn't feel quite as premium as that on the Galaxy Z Fold 5, which is just a little bit more consistent. On the Open, there's a little less give towards the open position, and it can feel slightly more fragile than the Z Fold 5. Still relatively high-end though. The big reason to get a foldable phone over a traditional phone, of course, is access to a bigger display. But it's not just about the size of the display. Display quality is important too. On the front of the phone, you'll get a 6.31-inch Super AMOLED display with a 2484 by 1116 resolution, and a refresh rate that can range between 10Hz and 120Hz. It gets super bright too, with a peak brightness of a hefty 2800 nits. Indeed, I found it easy to see the display both indoors and out, even with brighter ambient lighting. Sometimes foldable manufacturers build great interior displays, but leave the exterior displays to be of a slightly lower quality. This kind of makes sense given the fact that when you're playing games or watching videos, you're likely to use the interior display. But it's still nice to see a foldable phone where you don't have to sacrifice display quality by using the external screen. That doesn't mean the interior screen isn't better though. It has a 2440 by 2268 pixel resolution with a larger refresh rate range from 1Hz to 120Hz. It's also an AMOLED display and it can reach a peak brightness of 2800 nits. Again, it's very bright. Both screens on the OnePlus Open look great. They're excellent for watching movies and playing games, and really, I couldn't have hoped for a better display experience. Under the hood, the OnePlus Open features a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor, coupled with 16GB of RAM and 512GB of storage, all meaning that it's one of the better performing phones out there right now. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 will be replaced with the 8 Gen 3 in the near future, but the 8 Gen 2 is still a great chip, and I found the phone able to handle everything that I could throw at it in 2023. That includes heavy multitasking and mobile gaming, and it loaded games quickly and processed them efficiently. If top performance is an important aspect of your foldable phone experience, then you'll appreciate what's on offer by the Open. The battery life on the Open is actually pretty good. The device offers a 4805 mAh battery, and I found that it was easily able to get me through a full day day of moderately heavy use, with around 30% or so remaining at the end of the day. Of course, your mileage will vary dramatically, depending on the types of tasks that you do, how often you use the interior screen versus the exterior one, and so on. Charging the phone, unfortunately, isn't as convenient as it should be. The device does support 67-watt Super VOOC charging, which should allow you to fully charge the phone in only 42 minutes. That's quite impressive. Unfortunately, however, it does not support wireless charging. That's a big miss from OnePlus. It's 2023, and this is a device built for the North American market, regardless of whether or not it's a reskinned Oppo phone. North American customers expect wireless charging, and considering how expensive this phone really is, there is no excuse not to include it. Moving on to the camera though, and it's an area where thankfully the OnePlus Open does quite well. The OnePlus Open has a triple camera array, with a 48 megapixel main camera, a 64 megapixel telephoto camera with 3x optical zoom, and a 48 megapixel ultrawide camera with a 114 degree field of view. For the most part, I really like the images that this camera was able to produce. In well-lit environments, images were bright and vibrant, and generally detailed overall. Colors skewed a little more yellow than, say, a device like the Z Fold 5, which tended to produce more natural colors. But I still like the overall vibe of shots taken with the OnePlus Open, especially with the added contrast that the camera seemed to produce compared to the Samsung. It's a very versatile camera too. The telephoto camera on the phone is able to zoom to 3x optically, however by cropping the sensor, it's able to get to 6x without applying any digital zoom. That's pretty handy and it made for some great shots. And the phone can zoom into 120x, which is totally unusable and more or less useless, but still cool to have. In low lighting, the phone is able to deliver pretty solid images too. They're not as bright as some of the competition, but they do look a little more crisp, which is nice. The phone offers two front-facing cameras, one on the inside and one on the outside. The exterior front-facing camera is a 32 megapixel camera, while on the inside there's a 20 megapixel camera. I assume the reasoning for the higher resolution camera on the external screen is because when you're using the internal screen, you could just flip the phone around and use the rear-facing camera. Regardless, shots taken with both of these selfie cameras did just fine. Like other foldables, you can use the rear camera to take selfies though, which is pretty handy and something that I recommend doing instead. Of course, the software approach is a major part of any foldable device. And I really like the changes that OnePlus has made to its software for the OnePlus Open. You'll get access to a range of different multitasking modes, including a basic split screen view and a mode that enables a third window to be accessible at the bottom of the screen for quick jumping between apps. This is a neat way to allow access to 3 apps at a time, and while you can open 3 apps on a device like the Z Fold 5, doing so will essentially require you to suffer through using tiny windows. I also like touches like the app bar at the bottom of the display. Again, something that is found on other foldable phones, but still a great way to multitask on the device. And I like how the device handles home screens. Like on some other foldable phones, the Open essentially just uses 2 home screens from the exterior screen to make the largest single home screen on the interior screen. Unlike the Z Fold 5, this isn't a choice that you can make. It's just how the Open handles home screens, and you can't choose to have totally independent home screens like you can on the Z Fold 5. But between the two choices, I prefer the mirrored home screen approach anyway. Speaking of multitasking, I did have one complaint. You can't open multiple Chrome tabs on the screen at once, unlike other foldable phones. This seems like a pretty major oversight, though it is an issue that could be fixed with a future software update. Generally, the software approach on the OnePlus Open is quite good. It's well designed and offers great multitasking tools, which is always handy. The OnePlus Open is a killer foldable phone, and it might be my favorite one right now. It's well designed, has high-end specs on the inside, a great camera, and handy software features. It's not cheap at all, though you can get at least $200 off if you trade in any phone, according to OnePlus. There are other compelling foldable phones too, but I just kind of have issues with all of them in some way. The Galaxy form factor isn't my favorite, while the camera on the Honor Magic V2 isn't all that great. The Pixel Fold is a great phone, but it's a little too short and wide for my liking. The OnePlus Open offers a good compromise between all of these issues. You can get the OnePlus Open for yourself using the link in the description. Thanks again for watching, and again, please like and subscribe if the video was helpful to you. I'll be comparing the Open with other foldable phones in the near future, so you won't want to miss that. My name is Christian, and I'll see you next time. See ya.